Welcome once again to the Build stage here at Black Tech Fest 2024. I'm your host of this stage, Deborah Chosen, and I'm really excited to get into this next conversation. So this session is going to be about bridging the gap between AI, ethics, and the urgency of diversity in tech. So we've heard a lot around AI today, no surprises there at all, and we are going to be learning a little bit more about it, but in particular around the importance of diversity within tech, which is really, I think, why so many of us are here today. So in this session, we will explore why diversity in technology, especially within AI and ethical frameworks, is not just a social imperative, but a business necessity, okay? So I'm excited to welcome to the stage our star panel. Chairing the conversation is the Senior Legal Counsel of Xero. Please put your hands together for Gifty Okonkwo. Thank you very much. Welcome, Gifty, welcome. And joining Gifty on the stage, please put your hands together for the Senior Director of Product Management at QuantumBlack AI by McKinsey, Yetunde Dada. And last but certainly not least, please give it up for the Global Director of Senior Hiring and Affinity at McKinsey & Company, Roselyn Cason-Marcus. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much, ladies, and over to you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. It's really great to be here. You know who I am, Gifty, Senior Legal Counsel, but you're not here to see me. You're here to see these very illustrious ladies. Now, we've heard names, but we'd like to have just a little bit of a background from the two of you, if that's okay, about what you do and why it is you're here today.
I mean, but also you can tell the audience about yourself too.
Well, fine, then I'll go first, okay? I'm Gifty. I'm a lawyer by trade, currently working in the tech space. I'm interested in all things tech, including AI, regulatory practices, commercial work, corporate work, you name it, I've done a contract about it.
Awesome. I mean, like, Gifty is amazing, so you're in for like a really wonderful session. So hi, everyone. My name's Yetunde. I always joke South Zambian because I have a Zambian mom, Nigerian dad, and I grew up in South Africa. I'm a Senior Director of Product Management within QuantumBlack, which is the AI division of McKinsey. I think if you know McKinsey, it's typically known for strategy consulting and the like, but we do actually have specific parts of the org that build long-standing products. So I work in tech, and I'm more of a technical product manager, you could say. Largely, I oversee 4 developer products right now in our organization that help users across the world in the sense that some of them are open source, so they're publicly available for you to use, and other ones like go to help companies in like many different ways. Background is in mechanical engineering, so I've been a woman in STEM for a while, and yeah, I'll hand over to Roselyn.
Hey everyone, it's so nice to be here, and I love to see so many young Black people engaged in technology. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the organizers of this. I am the Director of Senior Hiring and Affinity for McKinsey. McKinsey is a 45,000 person organization, and we are still in our own journey of trying to make it a more egalitarian environment at the top. So my team is specifically involved in executive level recruiting, but also thinking about underrepresented groups at the executive level, because McKinsey believes that high-performing organizations should be diverse at the top.
Amazing. So we'll get straight into it, kicking off strong. We've been talking about diversity for years, attracting and retaining Black talent for years. Are we done?
Absolutely not. And I wanted to read a quote to you by Toni Morrison, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, Black woman, African-American woman. And she says, the very serious function of racism is distraction. It keeps you from doing your work. It keeps you explaining over and over again your reason for being. So just because the majority have shifted the conversation away from DEI doesn't mean anything as far as I'm concerned. McKinsey has done a report that says that by 2050, a quarter of the world's population will be African. So whether people want to engage with us or not, there's an economic opportunity for us that we must take up and get engaged in.
Amazing. Anything from you on that, Yetunde?
I think it's also worth noting as well in some of the research that we do, the companies that are ethnically diverse perform their peers by 36%. The fact that we still have to make a business case to show that there's still relevance in the organization is mind-boggling, obviously. But the conversation is still very much alive for what does it look like when we want to have a high-performing organization where people are included in decision-making, where we consider consumers across the spectrum because we're able to build for them. Like, what does that actually look like in practice?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So what does this have to do with AI? We're talking about the gaps in representation. Why do we care when it comes to artificial intelligence?
I think for this one, this is actually where things get a little bit scary. I think it comes with any form of like technology, automation, where decision-making is done more and more by machines. Where previously, if we talk about industrial machines, we only needed to worry about the input of some material and the output of it. Now we're talking about decision-making being made at the highest level, whether or not you get a job, whether or not you can get a loan in applications, whether or not you are considered for specific decisions, because what we're doing now is automating human decisions.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of things that we need to be doing. I think most of the conversation in the AI space when we talk about AI, ethics, and diversity is focused on risk mitigation, and there's perhaps like 3 key areas that you can think about. The first one would be misidentification. So this would occur in situations where the data set is actually missing information about underrepresented groups. Actually, let me just say minoritized groups, because it's not something we did to ourselves. Minoritized groups.
Exactly.
So it's missing information and then therefore doesn't know how to make decisions properly. An example of this one would be one major tech company decided to create an application that would scan you could basically take pictures of whatever skin condition that you had, and it would give you a probability percentage of like what's going on with your skin before you're going to go panic and go talk to a doctor, as you should, right, for these things. And the data set that they built, or that they used in this application, did not have black skin. So immediately, the model becomes highly inaccurate when it's looking at black skin tones. Now you say, what would be a more accurate way to deal with a situation, fully knowing that it's not your fault that the data set did not have black skin because they're using historic medical records? Maybe if I was the product manager on that product, I would have said something like, maybe we can ship this in beta, okay, and warn folks that it's experimental because it is missing this attribute in it. So our users are made aware that it's missing the specific set. And I'm also going to go a step further and work with the hospitals to generate this data so that we never have to worry about this in future. Maybe that would be a way to address misrepresentation in the space.
Because what Yetunde is alluding to is the fact that we need a community-based approach to AI where we are bringing in all the groups in the decision-making right at the beginning. So instead of what she's just described, creating a product and then having to correct it, what we need to do is go into communities to understand what the needs of those communities are in the first instance before we even start the creation process.
I guess it's a focus on like how do you think about ethical design and fair design throughout the product making process. It's not some checklist activity, if you even have a checklist, that you do right at the end. It's something that you think about through the design of the total product. So we talk about risk areas. Another one would be, of course, misrepresentation. So this one would be in situations where, for instance, another tech company was using a recruiting tool as one of the automated decision-making processes that it had. And it used to downgrade, in this case, women that went to women's colleges, because what it would do was it would look at who got hired previously, and they were all from like male colleges or general colleges, and then therefore say, okay, because these people have come from women's colleges, they're not ideal candidates here, and this is how they were getting screened out.
And it was also picking up language. Non-European names were being immediately dismissed from the conversation, from resumes being pulled. And it was also picking up language which suggested that the candidates were actually male. So some of the words that were used in resumes that were more male-dominant language were also a part of this. And so we know that this is a very serious issue that starts almost at the beginning of your journey in employment.
I'm cringing hard over here. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Maybe just there's one other thought as well. Like, personally, I've also been hit by this one as well. I was on the dating apps, and I can tell you a story about how the dating app, if you pay enough for it, allows you to see profile insights. So you get to see which is your most popular photo as it rotates your photos in the profile to test them, which is great. The photo it in turn picked as like my most popular photo was the only photo I had with a friend, and she just happened to be white. So look, I'm a scientist in the end, so I could say there's many different reasons. Maybe because we were standing in front of pyramids, it was the most interesting profile photo, if I could say it like that. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe because there's two of us, people would spend more time looking at the photo. So I have to consider reasons like that instead of just jumping to the one. But what I didn't expect the software to do was the crop of my profile picture became her image. So, you know, the small display image was replaced with her picture, even though the app knows what I look like. So these are how, like, some of these decisions, like, while not intentional, can still be harmful at different variations or different levels for folks. And I will say, obviously, on the software engineering side, when you're designing software, you think about test cases and edge cases, right? When writing out your test set. Why are we edge cases in this discussion? Why do we have to find bugs in the system because it wasn't designed for us?
I'm thinking about AI with my very non-European name and very non-European face. But Yetunde, you've gone ahead and built an AI product. You have built McKinsey's arm, AI arm. Snaps for Yetunde. She built something, guys. Thank you. That's right. So you've been in the process where you are literally helping to build the product. What insights can you give us?
I think for this one, I guess maybe I can speak more broadly about like what QuantumBlack does. Companies across the world will come to us with like different challenges for things that they want to do in their organizations or create new businesses. And we'll say, we'll use AI as the way to actually make that happen. We call this principle kind of like hybrid intelligence, where we at our ethos believe that the future for all of us is one where we're working closely with machines, but humans are empowered to be the creative ones, and we're bringing the best of what humans are into the discussion around how we design these systems. So with all of that, it does mean that we're looking still into the impacts of where the product is supposed to be used, what data is also being inputted in, and also what is the historical bias in the data as well, to look at ways to mitigate those things because they're important. More so, I sit on, my product right now is called Xero. It's made with this amazing, diverse team, by the way. That's just as a plus. And it's open source. What it does is it allows data scientists to write production-grade code. So all of your prototypes are very easily put into production systems in like half the time, or a quarter of the time, because you're using Xero. And largely, I love it because like I get to interact with like users across the world because it's open source, and all of them talk about like how it improves their software engineering quality and helps them make more robust code. I think if I wanted to think of more places to build products, it would perhaps be creating maybe a version of Xero for bias.
I love that.
You know,
I love
guardrails
the idea
for
that. That would be amazing.
Okay. Looking for collaborators.
Yes.
That's amazing. And tell us, Roselyn, is there a time, or do you think there's a way that diversity can help us avoid disaster and lead us to success?
Absolutely. I think, there will never be a time where in AI you don't put a human eye on things. One of the areas that I'm super exercised about is the area of justice, and initial AI tools were predicting criminality. So if your father was a thief, they would assume that you were going to be a thief as well. And I know in America, some of the judges were testing this tool. So from my perspective, I think it is absolutely essential and critical that we start talking about AI in primary schools. We need to start that conversation with young people. We don't need youth clubs, we need boot camps. That's what organizations need to focus on, is how we get more community-led diversity approaches in AI. What I really would love to see, and really my vision, is that we are taking primary school children, teaching them the principles that Yetunde is talking about in their neighborhoods, and that reverse mentoring will go on where they start teaching their elders about AI, because there is a huge economic opportunity in the Black community if we get educated early on. And the two things that we need the most are financial literacy and technical literacy.
Amazing. Anything to add from you, Yetunde?
I think for this one, I mean, like it's worth also grounding the conversation in, everyone talks about risk mitigation as the reason why we need to have more diverse systems and more diverse products. But I'd actually like to have a more hopeful framing around it and think of opportunity creation as well as part of the conversation. I mean, like, even if you just think of our favorite makeup brands, a la Fenty, for Rihanna, when she said, I'm going to make 43 different makeup shades for women and serve a group that has historically been left out of the conversation because apparently Black women don't like makeup. The thought before that. She effectively completely changed the game on how we think about makeup. So on the opportunity creation, when we talk about these companies, these companies that outperform their peers by 36%, that opportunity part is also part of that conversation. It's not just risk mitigation that makes those things possible.
And then we have to have a shout out to one of our McKinsey alums, who's the COO of Ruka Hair. Most women that have used extensions in the past have always had to go to others to either buy their hair or to get their products. And now we are starting to see a generation of our own people selling the products that we need and want for ourselves. And importantly, being profitable, making money at it. So, I would love as well to see more of this. And I agree with you, Yetunde. I think sometimes I have a risk mitigation mindset because I'm American, and Black Americans have a risk mitigation mindset. But I totally agree with your whole piece around opportunity creation. And I think that we need to become more producers versus consumers. And if you enjoy video games, then get into content creation. Get yourself into the front end of the ecosystem so that what you are producing and enjoying is something that is also putting money back into your community.
I love it. Okay, some big themes here. But I think I'm going to leave some time for questions for the audience. So I'll go with one more question for you guys. Call to action. What practical steps can our audience take to push forward diversity in the AI sphere, in the corporate sphere, in the spheres that they're working in?
You can maybe go first.
All right, I'm going to say upskill. Upskill, get involved in, and there are lots of ways. You don't have to be a technical person, as Gifty has shown. I'm going back to risk mitigation, but we do need people who are going to audit AI. We do need people to be involved in governance and really to understand the implications for our community, for women, for young people around safeguarding. So I would say that each of us needs to become a student of AI, and that is something, as Yetunde is talking about, open sourcing. There isn't anything that you can't learn, and you don't have to go anywhere to learn it. So that would be my call to action, is that each and every one of us get involved in this conversation.
I think for me, I actually have a range of tips. So in terms of diversity, Black representation in tech, we're sitting at 8%. And I will also say as well, the number for, I think, women in tech, is specifically in Europe, is 22%-ish. We're still on the lower end of being represented in different companies across the world. So I will say, stay if you're in the space. Do whatever it takes to protect your mental health as well, and prioritize yourself in those spaces. And that might include things like For instance, creating a safe space around you. I'll give you one of the research insights that came out of our Women in STEM research report. Spoke about how when women relocate to areas where there's other women and they're not the only in their space, they genuinely have a better time and are retained longer in those organizations. So look around you here. There are people working at different companies. If they're having a great time, ask them where they are and go join them at the company, and don't stay where you are the only. In the absence of that, I would recommend finding community, because you're going to outlast if you're with other people that you just get to be yourself and be accepted in the space. I will add as well. So staying is one, and knowing that your role is important. The other one as well is, like, for the longest time, I used to dream, like, when is my senior leadership really going to deeply care about this diversity thing and really move the needle, before also understanding that the change also starts with me. There are different ways that I am still privileged in society. For instance, I'm neurotypical. I'm not neurodivergent in the way that I think. And for me, it's just like, how am I also in turn practicing these same things, creating the same world that I want to see in the products that I'm working with the teams that I'm working with, whoever I choose to be on my team as well? Like, how am I also creating opportunities in the same way? Because if we can role model this behavior, we can actually show clear examples of where we're outperforming and doing amazing and becoming a reflection of what we need to create. So where possible as well, do reach in. It might even be things like, for instance, we prioritize 2 sprints focusing on making our, we have a pipeline visualization tool far more accessible on colors and in how people would, with different eye conditions, would be able to look at our product. You take a hit on productivity for building features, but I think it's worth it when you do things like that. So there are many other things that you can decide to prioritize across a spectrum of privileges that you may face in your careers. And then the other thing as well is just if you do have, we obviously know that we do need more folks in the space as well. So if you are looking at role transitioning and upskilling, to Roselyn's point, do it, because there are quite a few opportunities there.
Amazing. Any questions from the audience? Okay, lovely. We've got one at the back. Whilst the mic is coming to you, to summarize, upskill, go and learn some stuff, and go where you're wanted. That's what I got from that. Yeah, lovely. Okay, so would you like to stand up just so that we can see you? Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. So firstly, really great panel. Really, really, really good, talking points and stuff. I guess one of the questions that I wanted to ask was around bringing the community into these conversations, because what I've seen in my own experience is that there's this idea of the black people don't want to engage in tech, or black people don't want to engage in the work, but we are all fully aware that, look, we're all here at the moment. So I guess my question is, what can we do as black practitioners within tech to, one, ensure that communities are having an equitable voice, and also two, make sure that these communities are not also being exploited in order to basically help a company's agenda, for example?
I love that question. So first of all, I think having more events like this where you are bringing people together to educate and learn and network. Networking is one of the most important things that you can do to start to have power and influence and a voice. I think we need to push the government. We live in this country, and the government owes us a duty of care. So definitely understanding what the governance rules are around some of the things that affect our community and getting involved. Making your voice heard is a really important part of all of this. You can't sit back and not engage in this conversation. AI will not allow you to do that. So I think the other piece is what I was talking about, where you can, in your own community, start thinking about what are the needs. If I live in Hackney, what do people in Hackney need? Talking to your local politicians and saying, listen, we want boot camps in Hackney for our young people because they need to learn and understand how all of this is affecting them. I think we need to just push more. I'm a pushy person, so that's how I think you get it done.
I think for me, I'll reflect on what it's like to be an employee in a company that is working on these different things. There may be two ways. I think the first one would be around, like, obviously reflect on, if you are working on software at all in the organization, reflect on like how your product is at all including Black voice, the Black community in it, yes or no. And if there are other groups as well that you can help with around, maybe it's the way that the team is formed, or maybe it's even like how you brainstorm about potential markets that, or users that you should be taking the product to and how you specifically do it. The second thing is, as well, if you recognize that there are other things in the organization that need to be done for the Black community, because maybe it's other parts of your company that are doing things, allies. So you're going to need to start to build some strong relationships with senior folks as well who have a voice stronger than yours, because I do find sometimes those things are difficult to change if you're lower down in the rung. You need people with more influence and to get into their ears and to convince them of like the importance of dealing with the issue so that they become your advocates and they become your voice to actually steer the conversation in the right way. It's also worth mentioning as well, I think I saw this on Twitter. Oh, is it Twitter or X? Anyways. A while ago, someone tweeted that Black people, I think any minoritized individual in an organization, Black people, women, whatnot, were over-mentored, under-sponsored.
Under-sponsored, yeah.
That being, and when I say sponsorship, someone who's willing to give you a cool product to work on or cool work to do because they're like, you know what, I've seen this cool thing. You would be perfect for this role.
And they put your name. They put your name in
there.
rooms that you're not in. I think that's one of the most important pieces of sponsorship.
So it would be tracking down your sponsors to specifically help you construct a case, and also working with them, especially if they're not going to be the vocal person to take the thing. They can help make your case stronger. Take that advice. Yeah.
And whilst we're waiting for the next question, there's a gentleman here at the front on the right. I'll add, be a little bit brave. I think sometimes, at least in my experience, my parents pushed me to go into one of the 4 Nigerian-approved professions, and I did. I succumbed. But if you have an interest in something else, don't be afraid to go and chase it. You should be able to do that in this society. My sister did. She's a dancer. She's thriving. And guess who's come round now to the arts? Those same Nigerian parents. So if you have the opportunity and you have an interest, run for it. That would be my advice.
I mean, like, yeah, the same thing hit my younger brother. He's, like, killing it in, like, marketing and photography. And now my parents are like, oh, look at my son. Like,
They were going to say that anyway.
I'll take the question from this gentleman.
Hi. Just wanted to know, from a business perspective, you spoke quite eloquently about how they can measure in terms of like their financial profits, etc. But other than that, how can a business measure the success in sort of decolonizing their algorithms in AI, etc.?
Brilliant question.
I think one of the issues that we run into, well, if I looked at it from an AI data science like application, there's certain ways that you can actually, there's certain like data science toolkits that actually help you measure bias in the data sets and then bias in the models. And a lot of them are open source like methodologies that you can apply. You should already be applying them when developing those systems so that you already have your report and then also your risk mitigation for what you do. So if I was to look at that more at a business level, which would be an amalgamation of like many different like AI systems, I would be looking at the reporting across those things and also seeing how these models are reporting, how we're addressing the bias at the end of it, and what those mitigation strategies would be. And then maybe there's one more measure that I'd look at a corporate level, which is like team happiness. So this one is like a bit of a weird one, but I find when teams are more diverse, you are forced to prioritize safety in the workplace because everyone is so different. It's not really that you have a choice around creating a safe environment, but remember, the changes that you put in impact everybody across the privilege spectrum. Like everyone on the team is having a better time because like everyone feels safer and is more creative, so it would be there.
It also impacts innovation, and creativity and innovation in prospective companies. I was on a panel with a venture capital firm that has been really focused on diversity in their own ranks, and the founder is actually a white man. And I said, why are you so focused on diversity? He said, because when we hired the first Black investment woman, she talked about a whole range of businesses that we could have invested in that as, you know, straight white men, we were just not even thinking about. So the creativity and investment in that investment sector has made them one of the most profitable VC companies in Europe. And so it works, and that's why people do it.
Thank you so much, everybody. We are going to be to the corner of the stage. If you did have some more questions, I'm sorry we couldn't take more. Appreciate your time and have a brilliant Black Tech Fest.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you.